Well, hello and welcome to that thing that we like to call Curlis Mania, where we talk all things pop, rock, and prog. Before I do anything else and continue into any other territory, I would like to welcome back to the channel my good friend, Mr. Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation. How are you, Peter?
Fantastic, and thank you for inviting me back on the channel. I had such fun last time, and fun doing the church episode on my channel. As controversial as it was, but no, that was so much fun.
Yeah, just to give people a little hint. I mean, we made a church video. We did a battle between Heyday and Starfish, and we actually got some commentary from one of the members of the church. His name is Steve Kilby. So
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, let's see who we stir this episode, mate.
well, it would be really cool if we get a response on this one, because we are here to talk about solo records from people. This is great because Peter and I were like, what are we going to do? Let's do something different. And we came up with this one, is solo records from people from a pretty major band. And of course, when you think major bands, you think Rolling Stones comes to mind. So we're talking about She's the Boss from 1985, Mick Jagger's first debut solo record, versus Talk Is Cheap. If I can get that in focus. See, Peter's got the vinyl. That's the way to go. From 1988, I believe is right. And his debut solo record. And so we are here to talk about two Rolling Stones going solo. I just think this is going to be great. So Peter, what is your first, this is how I've been starting some of these episodes. What is your first memory of hearing the Mick Jagger solo record? Do you remember this? What was the first song you heard? What did you hear about in the news before it came out? Like, what do you remember about this period?
Yeah, look, Just Another Night was a bit of a MTV or a bit of a video hit in Australia. So I think it hit the charts like top 20 all around the world. So that's the song. In respect of other songs on the album, probably not as much. He did do a tour of Australia, I think, not far off this album, with Joe Satriani on guitar. So we hadn't had the Stones in Australia since the early 70s. And for him to come to Australia with a bit of a assembled band with Joe Satriani, that was huge news indeed. So that's my memory, the tour and Just Another Night. What about you?
Yes, I do. I remember reading about it when it was coming out, because I was a big, at this point, and this was my Stones period. I mean, I was a really big Stones. I've always been a pretty big Stones fan, but by the mid 80s, I was huge. I was way into it. I remember buying when Undercover came out, I like ran to the store and like couldn't wait to get it and drove it home on my bicycle and like threw it on the turntable. So I was immersed in the Stones at this time. And I of course went backwards and bought all the stuff from the 70s, the 60s, and everything. I had everything. So I was excited when I heard that he made a solo record, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like. And I did buy it. I mean, this is my original copy that I bought in 85. It's still in pretty good shape. I actually listened to it this week, and it sounds pretty good. But I didn't ruin it. But yeah, then to your point, I remember the video for Just Another Night coming out on MTV, and it was on pretty heavy rotation.
Yeah,
I think it was
yeah, absolutely.
a Julian Temple directed video, if I remember right, something like
Yeah,
that.
yep.
So it
Hmm.
was sort of a
Yeah,
sophisticated
absolutely.
MTV video.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, there was all this talk about, oh, what's happening to the Stones? Are they breaking up? Because I think there was a little bit of a sort of media buzz about, oh, Jagger's making his first solo album. So what does that mean about the Stones? Is that over? And
Yeah.
then
What
it
is the?
went
Yeah, I
from
think
there.
absolutely. It was a very interesting time, and we'll get more into that as we go. But that's absolutely
Absolutely.
no question, no question. So She's the Boss. Let's just do a little rundown, and then I'm going to hand it over to you. So, She's the Boss, based on my notes, it's obviously, as we said, it's his debut solo LP. It was released February 19th, 1985 on Columbia Records. He had negotiated a solo deal as part of the Rolling Stones' new deal that they had made with Columbia in 1983. And more on that later because that's a little controversial. Um, he started writing these songs while they were making Undercover, and as soon as Undercover was finished in 1983, he started focusing on this solo album. Basically recorded in 1984 in Compass Point Studios in the Bahamas. A virtual who's who of rock music is on this record at the time. I mean, it's just insane. I think it's 31 people or something like that.
It's like
Um,
an army. It's like an
it's
army.
an army. I mean, it's literally an army of people.
Look at the credits. They're just
Yes,
it's all in fine print. It's like unbelievable.
small font, and it's like, yeah. So no, I mean, Pete Townsend, Jeff Beck, Carlos Alomar from David Bowie's band, Herbie Hancock, Sly and Robbie rhythm section, Nile Rodgers has helped him produce it. I mean, it's just insane how many big, I mean, not just names, but like big names, like huge names on this record. Um, so and again, more I keep saying this, but more on that later as well. So Lonely at the Top was an old Stones demo from 1979. So maybe they had worked it up for like Emotional Rescue or something like that around that time. So that was a song that was sort of a leftover Stones, but that's the only one that was like a Keith Richards co-write on this record. The singles for the album were, as we mentioned earlier, Just Another Night was the first single. Lucky in Love was the second single, and the third single was Hard Woman. And I echo Peter's sentiments. I don't remember hearing Lucky in Love or Hard Woman on the radio or seeing video or anything. So uh, Just Another Night was the big single. So anyway, so that's it. And I just have my only note I'm going to say before I hand it to Peter is has not aged particularly well. Very 1985s. That's the last note I had. So, what do you think, Peter? What's your take?
Well, I think that Jagger was very influenced about the success that David Bowie had with Let's Dance and maybe a little bit lesser with Tonight. So to get Noel Rodgers in, he probably thought, well, I want some of that because Noel Rodgers really tapped into a sound that really converted into multi-platinum success MTV, and he wanted some of that. So when you look at the players on this album, you've got the Chic, players, you've got Noel Rodgers, and it's very much that New York funk R&B contemporary 1985 with a lot of synth pop involved. So I think he was trying to update his image. He was going very much with the times, and that's sort of the route he was taking, especially with the first song being Just Another Night, which was very much you wouldn't imagine that would be on a Rolling Stones album. It's very much a different sounding, more pop orientated sort of song that I think Mick would have poo-pooed. That's not coming on here, mate. Would have put the stop sign.
Right.
So it's interesting. It's a lot of the Sonics are very much of its time. But man, it's like an army of musicians. And you can imagine in the studio, the tracking board where they would have the matrix of, okay, Sly and Robbie, you're on next. You're trying to keep track of all these characters that are on. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So when you have different people, it could work cohesively and be interesting artistically, or it can be a little bit messy. So I guess as you and I talk song by song, we'll come to our own conclusions. This army of all these different superstars, does it actually do anything for the songs themselves?
We're gonna find out.
Yes. Yes. So why don't we talk about Lonely at the Top? That's the first song. So
Yeah. Comes out kicking, comes out rocking.
It's punchy, it's bright, it's pop rock. Interesting kind of lyrics where it's talking about people trying to make it in Hollywood. So there's there's two things. You've got the chorus, and then you've got the verse, and the verse is all about, going from the bottom up in Hollywood, auditioning, working to be a star, and then the chorus keeps on repeating, "Lonely at the top, lonely at the top." So I don't know, is Mick saying something through the lyrics? It's got very metronomic drums, which are very atypical of the 80s. I think it's kind of generic. It's safe, and it's a little bit odd as a choice for an opening track. So it doesn't come out of the gates like thinking, "Oh wow, this is outstanding. This is going to be a great album." So I think it's a little bit too safe and a little bit too generic.
Yeah, and that snare drum literally is like, oh, like it almost hurts. I mean, it's literally so processed and so loud. It's very, again, a very 80s production choice. And to your, I agree. It's lonely at the top. It's you're trying to figure out what it's about exactly because it kind of has this verse. Your point is well taken about the verse lyrics versus the chorus, and you're kind of like, what's the point of this again? But but I do, I mean, it that has some kick to it. I do like, you can hear, I think Jeff Beck is on this track. You can hear him, a little bit in the, throwing off some licks here and there. But it's still pretty generic, I would say. Generic, pretty generic
It,
rock.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a bit too safe. And as I said, I think he was he wanted to do what David was doing with Let's Dance. And I
Mhm.
think the next track is evident because you've got the Chic back line, or you've got Nile Rodgers, you've got Bernard Edwards, Steve for I think Ferrone from the
Throne, I
Average
think
White
it's,
Band.
yeah.
So yeah, so you've got a really tight R&B backline, and it's that kind of that funk that was very evident in the early 80s. And I think this is not a bad track. It's got a bit of a Prince chic feel to it, that really clipped guitar, that clean guitar sound, which is just Nile Rodgers to a T.
Yes.
It's got a funk groove, and his lyrics are kind of social observational. So he's just talking about the glass is half empty, half a loaf. It's about living in a world where everything is available, but sometimes obtaining the whole is just that little bit too far away. So
Mhm.
interesting lyrics, a little bit social observational. But for me, the lyrics are not king here. It's the sonics, and anything with Nile Rodgers, I'm a huge fan,
Mhm.
um, and a fan of that Prince style. I love it. I don't
Yeah.
mind this song.
No, I'm also a big Nile Rodgers fan as well, and you're right. His fingerprints are all over this song, and it's
Yeah.
funny at the time. I gotta say, it hit me when I was doing the kind of my homework for this episode. It didn't hit me at the time about the David Bowie thing, and I'm like, you're right, you're absolutely right. It's like he was definitely like looking at Bowie with Let's Dance and going, I think I want some of that.
I want some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and a contemporary who's kind of, oh, he's been around for a long time and he's got this big success with Nile Rodgers and Half a Loaf kind of has that has that Let's Dance vibe to it. But it's a great groove, and this is for me one of the standouts. So I'm agreeing with
Yes.
you. This is one of the standouts on the album, and I thought, geez, what I wish the whole album was kind of like this. But then
Yes.
he might be looking at your aping Bowie if he did the
Yeah.
whole album
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That was my thought process. But I do love this. I do like this
Absolutely.
song. I like this song quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so running out of luck. This is interesting because I heard this song again, and it reminded me of a song that came out much later. Remember a song called "Future So Bright I've Got to Wear Shades" by Timbuk 3?
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep.
Listen, folks, to both the songs, and wow, it just seems like they're sort of like a facsimile of each other. It's kind of like a funk R&B workout. It's got the synth pop, it's got the harmonica, and you know, you've got Robbie Shakespeare, you've got Eddie Martinez, and Jeff Beck on lead. When it's all over, it's sort of not memorable. It's not super hooky. It's enjoyable while you're listening to it, but it just doesn't have enough teeth to hook into your brain. So, but yeah, the only thing that I can take out of this song is it just reminded me of Future So Bright, I've Got to Wear Shades by Timbuk 3.
Yeah. Yeah, this song feels like a big step down from Half a Loaf.
Yep.
Oh, it's because I really Half a Loaf, I'm really into it at the end with the, I can't go on seeing you like this there. And
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said, that rhythm guitar going, everything's great. And then Running Out of Luck kicks in and you're like, oh, what is this? Like it's just, and
Mm,
you can tell he thinks he's doing something really cool with that beginning with the running out. They're doing some kind of
yeah.
effects at the beginning. And you're like, what? The 85 comes shining through. And it really isn't much of a song at all. It's just kind of a riff that he just repeats over and over and over and over again. And
Filler. It's a little
you
bit
know,
filler.
and by
Yeah.
the time it's over, you're like, oh my God, okay, I get it. You're running out of luck. I get it. So not a
Yeah.
big fan of this track. No,
Yep.
no.
Absolutely. And then we go to Turn the Girl Loose. Now, this is a B side to Just Another Night, but I really like this song. Could have got away with an A side if it had the right push. Got a very expressive vocal from Jagger. He does a lot of vocal riffing, a little bit scatting, where his vocals are just, you got the lyrics, you got the melody, and his vocals are, dive bombing. I like that when he does that. Edgy,
Mhm.
a lot of urgency. And who's playing? Noel Rogers, Bernard Edwards, Herbie Hancock. It's a super team. So he's like a coach who, I imagine Jagger's got the matrix board and, okay, let's throw these guys into this song. It's like putting your best football team out and, yeah, let's see what we can come up with. And it works. It's really tasty, funky AOR.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I don't know that I like it as much as you do. I do think it's a good groove. Like you said, these guys are pros,
Mm,
so they get a good groove going. But by the end, oh my God, when that woman starts going, "Don't tell me what to do," and yeah, turn me
mm.
loose, and I don't know. That's the part it kind of tanks it a little bit for me. But it's a good groove. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. It's a good groove. I
I
like
think
it.
it's a bit better than a B-side, put it that way. I
Yeah,
think he could have got
yeah,
away with it. Yeah, I understand the outro's a little bit, yeah, I understand, but
yeah.
anyway, it's
But
all good.
it's okay. It's all right. We
Yep,
we can disagree on occasion.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Hard Woman. So this is like a grandiose type of power ballad, isn't it? Jagger really sings with a little bit of conviction.
Mhm.
Um, you got Tony Thompson on drums. He's like a absolute powerhouse. Pete Townsend with the acoustics. Um, it's a real big ballad production of the 80s. You've got the strings, the piano, the emotional swell. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a good power ballad. So,
Mhm.
yep, it ticks all the boxes. And was this a single? Just remind me.
It
Power
was. It was the third single. Yes. Yep. So there you
should have
go.
should have done better.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
mean,
maybe the audience out there just doesn't associate Jagger with a power ballad, and that's why it
right.
didn't do well. That's what
Right.
I think.
Right. Yep. And he's kind of doing
Yeah,
that sort of twangy singing a little bit again. That sort of
yep,
she's a hard woman to please. It's like
yeah,
but he does. But by the end, he's really projecting quite a bit. He's really giving it his all. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
I don't think people associate Jagger with power ballad. They probably think, oh, Steve Perry, John Waite, but not Mick Jagger. But I like it. I think he's trying something different here.
yeah, yep. So, yep.
Yep,
I think
yeah.
it's okay. I think it's all right. It's not bad. It's I can't help thinking about like things like where Dead Flowers or something in the vein of or like what is it on Exile? Gotta
Mm,
scrape the shit right off your shoes. What is that? Um, can't think of the
I
song.
know.
Sweet Virginia, is that it?
Yep, yep. Sweet
Sweet
Virginia. Yeah,
Virginia,
yeah,
it's something like that where he really pulls it off with the Stones, and then this seems like a little bit more of a trying to do something like you said. It's almost like country ballad, power ballad. Like I don't know what it's trying to do, but anyway. But that's just my take on it. Not bad, not bad. But I just think that in my world, the second half of side one is kind of and then to me it comes back to life on side two. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
And then we have the Uber hit "Just Another Night." It's hooky. It's memorable. It's got a lot of melody on it. Though the drum sounds are the one that really permeate through this song, isn't it? It's a real savage electronic drum sound, which was very prevalent in new wave and pop music at that time. And interesting that I think Patrick Alley had a Jamaican reggae song called "Just Another Night," and there was a court case, but it got thrown out. Funny that it had the similar sort of name, but yeah, there was a little bit of litigation going on in this song.
Mhm.
It's fun. It's a fun song, but is it top shelf, Mick? Probably not. But it's probably the hookiest song on the whole album, as a that is just bursting to be played on radio.
Mhm.
So it's got that going for it. But personally, my personal taste, I don't think it's top shelf, Mick. But anyway,
See, it's funny we're differing on this record quite a bit because I'm going in with I love Just Another Night. I think it's great. I think it's a well-written
yeah,
song. I think it's a good, like you said, it's got lots of hooks.
yeah,
Um, and it's just I think it's a well I don't know. I think it's a great single. I remember it got me interested in the album when I heard it and saw the video. I thought, I just um
mm,
yeah, I love it. And it's very Mick Jagger. It's, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm hungry for your love. And he's kind of doing this sort of horny Mick thing that I like. So
yeah. He's strutting himself like a peacock. He
yeah,
really is. So
yeah,
it's got a lot of charisma. I'm not saying I don't like it. I like it. It's the most hooky song. But just personally, I'm looking over. Is it top shelf Jagger in the sense of the Stones? No,
yeah, yeah.
that's
Oh,
that's just my
yeah,
view.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
what do you think about
Eh,
Lucky in Love?
Oh, bluesy guitar of Jeff Beck. So it's good to hear Jeff on here.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you when you heard this album for the first time, could you tell Jeff was playing? Oh, it sounds like Jeff Beck, or was it sort of a little bit lost in the weeds with all the various players?
It's funny until this song, it's kind of lost. And then when you hear this song, you go, "Oh, that's Jeff Beck." They really kind of let him off the leash on this song a little bit. That's what I like about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I find this song very busy, very very busy, and that's a
Mhm.
fault with a lot of these songs in the 80s, where they just throw everything but the kitchen sink into the production. It's got a very 80s production, and that's the thing that sort of spoils it. But this one could have been a hit because I think at its base, it's a decent song, but
Mhm.
maybe the production is just a little bit too busy.
Yes. No, and you're right. It's got those keyboard stabs, those synthesizer stabs. It's got, you're right. It's got those kind of processed drums. So you're absolutely correct that it's got that 85 production. But I like this song quite a bit. Like I said, like you were saying earlier, I really feel like they finally let Jeff Beck off the hook a little bit, off the leash, and let him kind of really run wild on this song, which I like. I love the riffs he does on the song. And I love the personality in this track where he's talking about, we start, 18 on the red, how about 10,000, $10,000, 10,000, another 10,000, and it was funny when I listened back to this song, I could do the whole rap from memory. So obviously it's stuck with me somehow, that whole 18 on the red and I'm broke. What is that? A full house? I got a full house. What is that? A royal flush? I'm broke. I mean, I just love that whole thing. I just think it's great. So I like this song quite a
Well,
bit.
you did well there, Tom. You almost sold the song to me. It's great. I love it.
I
You
love
should
it.
be an A&R, mate.
Yeah, right. Just I don't hear a single. I don't hear a single.
No, don't hear. Okay, don't hear it.
You have
I
to go
don't hear it.
back to the studio.
Back
Yeah.
to the studio. Try harder.
Oh, all right. How about
Now,
secrets?
secrets. Talking Heads. Can
Yeah.
you hear it?
Yes. Yes.
Girlfriend.
Yes.
Dun 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 dun. Dun.
Yes. Yes. Very Talking Heads ish. Yes.
Yeah, Bernard Edwards with that beautiful bass line, just so up in the mix. Synth stabs, which I don't mind. It's likable, but not memorable.
Right.
So that's probably the flaw with this album. A lot of it's likable, and you're enjoying it when you're listening to it, but when it's over, it's kind of not memorable.
Oh, you just completely nailed what the whole point of this album. I mean, that's it. It's like when you it's enjoyable to listen to, but you just later you're like, how does that song go again? It just doesn't really stick in your head much. But Secrets is like you said, as it's playing, I mean, the Secrets is it's got like you said, that Nile Rodgers rhythm guitar again. That jing 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 jing, and it's really driving. And I heard the secrets, ding ding. I mean, it's I think it's a pretty strong track. And once again, you kind of look at that and you go, God, I kind of wish Nile Rodgers had just done the whole album. And sometimes,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, well, I think Mick's quite shrewd and careful with his money, so maybe
yeah,
when he saw the fee, he said, "Look, mate, we'll just leave you 5, 6 tracks, okay? I'll pick up the tab for the rest."
yeah. Nile was hot property at this point. He was hot. He was,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Madonna.
yeah,
Madonna was around this time, wasn't it? Like a
yeah. So,
Virgin.
but like a virgin, yeah, yeah.
Yes, he was on fire.
No, he was
So
hot.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
He could charge a lot of money, no doubt.
Yep, yep.
So, all right, so we get the title track.
Yeah, look, this reminds me of Undercover, the experimentation of Undercover, Hot Stuff. It's just basically he's riffing a lyric. It's got synth drums, layered guitar lines. It's funky. And as the song goes on, Jagger's vocals become more frenzied. So
Yes, yes.
it goes off with a little bit of a bang.
Okay, you're the boss.
But again, when the needle comes up, you go, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
what happened?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
a lot of steam, but I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, it's like you can tell, you can almost feel he's trying to bring this track alive and it's not quite working.
Mm,
He's working his butt
yeah,
off to make it a memorable song, you know?
absolutely. So I get the feeling like sometimes I think a lot of these artists they try really hard, too hard, and it comes out. Sometimes you just got to let things happen and
Mhm.
become loose and just what you're famous for. You've got to work within those parameters. I just really feel that he's really just trying so hard. It comes out in spades that he wants to have a hit with this album.
Yeah.
He really wants to make it happen. And it's a little bit probably, yeah, Keith,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they're kind of at war or there's a bit of bickering.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
not a friendly period for the Rolling Stones, is he?
No, no. I mean, I think Keith didn't, or Mick didn't think it was a huge deal. He said, I just wanted to do it. I just felt like doing it. I wasn't angry at anyone. I just felt like doing it. And Keith was the one who got really upset.
Yeah.
I think when he said he didn't want to tour after Dirty Work, that was when things really fell apart.
Would you want to tour off Dirty Work?
No,
Seriously.
no, I wouldn't.
I think Mick did the right thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Gee whiz. We should do that in a future show. We'll call it post-mortem CSI.
yeah,
We'll do
yeah,
it. It's like a CSI episode. We'll get the autopsy out and work out what happened with that album.
yeah. Albums you wouldn't want to tour to support. That'd be a good one. Um, but yeah, she's the boss. Just to echo your sentiments. I mean, it's not much of a title track. I mean, it's not. I mean, he's working very, like you said, to your point, he's working very hard to make it into something, but it's not really happening. And it's just a groove song. It's just a ding 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 ding, and it just keeps going like that the whole song. And you're like, is this ever gonna have a
Mm,
middle eight or a chorus or anything? It's just it doesn't.
yeah,
That's all it is, and it just like it's kind of a
yeah,
disappointing end to the record.
yeah. It's interesting, track listing. It's the final song on the album, and yeah. So this album in the day didn't really set the critics on fire either. I don't think it got exactly panned, but it was sort of a lot of critics would give it about a 2 out of 4 stars. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I just think I think it was probably a bit lukewarm.
Yeah, I agree. I don't remember it getting slated or anything, but it wasn't like praised to the hills by any means.
Yeah,
Pretty,
yeah,
they'd say it was pretty good, not bad for his first solo effort, kind of like,
yeah.
you know.
Anyway,
But yeah, so that's She's the Boss. I mean, we just went through all the tracks, and there you go. That's the cover. He's looking pretty debonair there.
and if you flip over, it's really funny. He's watching TV and he's watching the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like a prophecy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know what that means, um but yeah, he's dialing for dollars there. I don't know. But
Dialing for something.
yeah, anyway. But yeah, so we can get into the story now. So basically, uh Mick decides to do this solo record. He releases it. He's going, as we talked about, you can tell he's going for it. He wants to have a hit. No doubt about it. And it's a moderate hit. I mean, Just Another Night does well, and it sells in decent numbers. I mean, Columbia pushes it and it gets some decent sales. Um, but Keith, in the meantime, is not happy. And I think they made Dirty Work after this, right? So he jumped right into Dirty Work right when this was finished, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but he was out of material. He'd used all his material with his solo record. So I think he's basically just like, okay, I'll come in and do vocals on the new Stones record. I mean, maybe that's not true. That's what it kind of felt like, though. So
Yeah, yeah. Look, I know we're joking around about Dirty Work. It's got a couple of decent songs. Um, that one with Jimmy Page on guitar, One Hit to the Body's not bad.
One Hit to
I've
the
got a
Bodies,
soft
I like
spot.
a lot. That's a good song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got a bit of drama. And but yeah, look, a lot of covers. To
Yeah.
me, you come out of listening to that record and you think they're a bit uninspired.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
they've been cajoled into a studio, herded into the pen, and against their will, they've got to do it. So you can actually tell if a band's happy or not. It comes out in the music and the material. And to me, they just don't sound happy.
Isn't that
And
interesting how
maybe,
you're right, it does happen. That's so true.
yeah, it absolutely does. And I think maybe Mick, by doing She's the Boss, that did reasonably well, was thinking, I don't need these boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got a solo career. So Mouth to Mouth, that was the next solo album he did later in the 80s. So
Mhm.
I think his mind was, still David Bowie.
Yeah. I could be
I
David
reckon
Bowie.
that
Yeah.
was on his in his head.
Yeah.
So
No, I
and
think
and
you're
he
right.
and he had that and he had that success in that horrible duet, didn't he, in Live Aid,
Oh God.
with
Dancing,
Dancing in the
dancing.
Streets.
Oh,
Did that go to #1 in America?
I'd rather forget that, honestly.
That went to #1 over here. I think that went to #1 in
I
America.
think it
So
might have, and I don't know why, but it did. I don't know. Just two superstars, basically, right? It's all it was. Just
two superstars.
two superstars doing a bad cover. It just was like, didn't, ugh. And the video was like, ugh. Just the whole thing. It was like, I don't know. Just didn't, like you said, he was trying to be Bowie. He was jumping on the Bowie thing.
Yeah. So,
Um,
folks, that album's not in Tom's collection, by the way. So we've
no,
just verified.
no, it's not. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. And then I remember he did State of Shock. Do you remember that? He did the Jacksons State of Shock. You remember that song?
Yeah, awkward,
With Michael
awkward,
Jackson.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they did a video for that, Tom.
I
I
don't
don't.
think
I
so.
don't recall it. No, I don't. But that was a really weird sounding. Like different. When I heard about that combination, I just thought that's going to be interesting. But it just didn't seem to gel, that one.
It was okay. It was
Gee, the
okay.
80s, it was
What?
okay. But
It was all
gee,
right.
the 80s. I mean, 80s were just it was the decade of duets, wasn't it? Just
Yeah.
putting people together and seeing how they go.
We'll have a huge hit if we just put this person with this person. And yeah, it was one of those. It's like a lot of A&R. Speaking of A&R guys. Um, but no, I think that what happened was finally Keith said, okay, we're going to tour behind. They finally get to your, not the greatest Rolling Stones record. Dirty Work is just, talk about unmemorable songs, and just you can barely One Hit to the Body is the one song that really sticks out. And and Harlem Shuffle is an okay cover, but everything else is like barely forgettable. For a Stones record, it's most people agree that it's a pretty low rated Stones record. And to your point, I do think you can hear that they're not getting along that well, and things aren't really gelling. And he wanted to, Keith was like, okay, we're done with the Stones record. Let's tour. Let's go on tour. And Mick said, not so fast. I want to do some other stuff for my solo career. I don't want to go on tour. And that Keith hit the roof. He was like, wait, what? What do you mean you don't want to tour for this record? What are you talking about? And I think it was all of a sudden he realized that Mick was starting to prioritize his solo career over the Stones. And that was like the final slap that really got Keith angry. And so then it really started kind of a feud, and you thought, oh, geez, are they going to break up? Like it was a full on feud going on between them. And Keith went off and did a movie with Taylor Hackford, I think it was, Hail Hail Rock and Roll, with which was Chuck
Chuck
Berry.
Berry.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the Chuck Berry movie, and he was like the musical supervisor or something like that, which is a tough job with Chuck Berry, right? But he
Oh,
brought in Steve Jordan on drums, right? And that's how they started jamming, Steve Jordan and Keith on that movie. Have you seen it? Have you seen
yeah.
the movie at all? Have you seen clips of it?
No, no, but I heard that Chuck Berry was a tough assignment. Maybe that could be another show one day. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's I think Keith said never meet your heroes.
right.
Sometimes they disappoint you.
Yes, exactly. It's because Keith, sorry, Chuck is a tough, like as you said, tough nut. I mean, that guy is, he's tough.
Did Chuck assault Keith? I had this story that he might have punched him or something. I don't know.
I think
Maybe
they did. I think he did. I think he punched him. I think
yeah.
Keith picked up his guitar or something and said, and wanted to just play it for a minute. And Chuck said, nobody touches my guitar. Like just took him out. So something like that.
Don't even look at it. Leave
Don't
it
touch it.
there.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
But if it were playing, but if it were playing,
Yeah.
um, listen to that sustain.
Unbelievable.
I don't hear anything. Well, if it were
Yeah.
playing, yeah. So
Don't
anyway,
don't touch it.
don't.
Okay.
I'm not touching it. Well, don't even look at it.
Yeah.
Still got the old tagger on it. But anyway, but yeah. So what was getting to my point here? So he did the Hail Hail Rock and Roll thing, and then he met Steve Jordan, and then they started jamming, and it was like felt really good. And so then after that, Mick is still off doing whatever he's doing, and so Keith's like, wait a minute, I'm not just gonna sit around on my butt doing nothing. I'm gonna create something myself as well. And I like to work, in his interviews he kept saying I like to work. So he got this band together called the Expensive Winos, which ended up being Waddy Wachtel, who was a famous LA session guy, Steve Jordan on drums, as we mentioned, Ivan Neville of the Neville Brothers on keyboards, and Charlie Drayton on bass, which I think that was the main group.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this album, which we're going to talk about, which is I've lived with this since I got it, and I love it. And much less players on this album than the Jagger one, so it's not an army. There's a few, superstars and guests, but it's probably about 15. It's probably half the number of folk that were on Jagger's album. We're working on this album. He's on a Virgin Records, so he's on a very progressive, supportive label, because I've done a recent show on my channel about record labels that are not supportive, but Virgin are very hip and happening and supportive. And I think eventually the Stones did get onto Virgin Records, which was interesting. They've been on a few labels, but when I first heard this, I thought, wow, this just pops out of the speakers, and this is Keith. This is the music he wants to play. He's thinking, look, my DNA is that that R&B, bluesy, rock and roll, and I'm not going to do any pop confections and try to follow the charts. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. And you look at the album cover. It's he's a serious guy, man. He's got
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And the little skull ring, I think one nag said that the skull ring looked like him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You just look at this, like if you see this in a store, you just think attitude,
Oh, it's
charisma.
pouring out. It's pouring out.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And
You know what you're gonna get.
it's
So
interesting that he did his own deal on Virgin. He didn't go with the Columbia thing. He went to Virgin and got his own deal.
smart
Um,
move. I
Smart.
really think, no interference or minimal. And they're a label that really kind of, I get the feel that they always supported their artists. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
this album did reasonably well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, I mean, it was released on October 3rd, 1988, and I remember buying the cassette. I had a cassette of it,
Mm,
and man, I was just blown. I mean, not to give the game away, but I was blown away when I put on that cassette and Big Enough came on. I was like, "What is this?"
yeah, let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
such a loose, funky, bluesy song. It's bright, it sparkles. It's got a Tattoo You feel. So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, Jagger's obsessed with David Bowie. Chicka 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 chicka. He's
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Richards is thinking, let's keep it simple. Let's go
yeah,
back to what people know me for, and that's Tattoo You and just R&B. So I just love the playing. I love the production. I mean, if you've got in your pocket Bootsy Collins on bass, Steve Jordan on drums, and Maceo Parker on alto sax, who was part of Funkadelic, you're in
come
the
on,
pocket, man.
come on.
You are in the pocket.
Yeah,
And I'm going to go slightly Peter Jones just for a second about the drums. The bit towards the end of this song where there's a hi-hat and goes syncopated. Oh, man, I love that. You know, with the drums, you
yes,
know, and
yes,
then it just this real hi-hat and the rhythm goes, it kind of changes. It just slightly goes even more syncopated. Um, and then the music goes in reverse. But this album with Keith's playing, is he going upstream or downstream? I
yeah.
love it.
It's going across the beat. It's with the beat, that it's across the beat, that it's just but it all works. Oh my God, it's
Yeah,
Steve Jordan just laying down that awesome drum groove, like you mentioned, and with Bootsy Collins like sliding all over the place. Oh, it's so unexpected. It's like when Big Enough is like such a funk jam. You're like, what? Is this a Keith Richards
yeah.
record? Like this is insane.
This is such an insanely great opening track. It is
Yeah,
so good. It is
yeah,
so good. And just playing it the other day, it sounds so current and fresh,
yeah.
not dated whatsoever.
Still love it to death. Yeah, still love it to
Yep, absolutely. So then you got the second track, Take It So Hard. It's so loose, but it's in the pocket. So to me, I thought this is like Exile Tattoo You. So it's even going back further. It sounds like
Yeah,
he's going Exile on Main Street. I
right.
love his vocals, and I think it's one of the best songs on the album. Take It So Hard.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I love the gang vocals in the background. Yeah, I always sing those.
yeah,
I love that.
yep, absolutely. But here's space between the notes. The
Mhm,
production on this song, this album, is not cluttered because you can hear space, a
mhm.
little bit of silence, space between the notes. It hasn't got that sort of the production that was prevalent in Europe with a lot of those sort of like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, where every single track has got to be cluttered with something. But this
Yeah,
one is just taking it back, analog, and just space between the notes.
yeah,
It's just a
yeah.
joy.
And it sounds like a band in a room. It sounds like a band playing. It doesn't like to. Remember we were talking about
Yeah,
the Mick Jagger record where he's in the control room. Okay, now you come in and overdub. Now you. Whereas like
yeah,
Keith, it's like five guys in a room just jamming. You know.
yep,
Um,
absolutely.
so
And
so.
then
Yeah.
struggle comes in, and interesting lyrics. It's a struggle between love and hate. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it's a little bit of pot shot at Mick. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the guitars are like front and center, and the rhythm guitar, it is the hero of this song. And what I like about this song, midway through, it kind of opens up, and you think it's just going to be a free-form jam, and then it sort of retreats. So there
Right.
are songs on this album, they kind of open up, and you think, oh, this is getting a little bit, it's kind of going into a free-form jam. And then the song comes back, and then it sort of retreats, and it goes back into a typical song structure.
Hmm.
It's such a joy, this album.
Yeah, like
Such,
just on the edge of like falling apart, like almost
yeah.
like on the cliff, like, oh, we're gonna fall out, and then oh, it comes back. Yeah, it's so good.
Structured unstructured or unstructured structured. I don't know, it's just, yeah, I love it.
Another great drum
um
track, by the way, too. Just have to mention the drums on it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I could have stood you up. Love that 50s doo-wop. Such a fun track. And you've got the wonderful Bobby Keys on sax, and Ian Neville doing honky tonk piano. You can't do wrong. And the wonderful, the great Mick Taylor, Fluid Blue lines.
Yeah.
So I think Keith said that it was just so good to have Mick in the band, and he was just in awe of him. And Keith, for him to say that, he doesn't give praise out too often, but for him to say that, what do you think of this song?
I love it. I think that they do
Mm,
the 50s pastiche thing perfectly. Like, and of course they're coming right off the Chuck Berry thing, right? So they're right in that mode.
yep, they're in the
And
mood. Yep.
man, like you said, Mick Taylor plays is I love it. And yeah, I remember seeing that interview too where he said something about like Mick Taylor was the one that got away kind of thing, like he was just so good. And to your point, he doesn't praise people like that. It's very rare,
No.
you know.
Yeah. Very, very rare. It
Very
seems
rare.
to be a perennial clickbait um, article, in Rolling Stone. Keith's view on Metallica, Keith's view on Black Sabbath,
Yes,
and it
exactly.
has this. Keith hates these bands, and it seems to be just this perennial thing of,
Yes.
he's the guy. If you want a narky soundbite, go to Keith, and he'll tell you what
They're
he
not
thinks
for
of.
me, man. What can I say? They're not for me.
They're not for you. Not for you.
But no, I should have stood you up, could have stood you up, but I didn't. I just love it. Johnny Johnson on piano, which is Chuck Berry's piano player. And it's just so genuine that even the bop, bop, they sound perfect.
Yep.
They sound perfect. I
Yep.
love it. Love this track.
Yep. Isn't it funny that there were a few classic rock acts that were going back to the 50s and revisiting those sort of artists that they grew up on, like the Honey Drippers, Robert Plant.
Yes.
They were dabbling in a lot of that sort of revisionism rock, and yeah, but this one is just so enjoyable, such a
So
nice song.
so great.
And then you've got Make No Mistake. This is the soulful, introspective Richards. You get a different vocal tone out of Keith, because Keith always has this sort of range where it's kind of growly and it's really narrow, but he really pushes his range on this song, and it's kind of endearing. And when Sarah Dash comes in and does a vocal line with him, it's really sweet and adds a lot of gravity to the song. So this is a really nice song, and kind of has a bit of a Memphis feel with the horns. There's a lot of stacks and a lot of Memphis in this album. Little horn bits here and there. Adds a lot of oomph. Yeah, I like it.
I love it. I think he's nailing, to your point, nailing the Stax R&B thing.
Yep.
Nailing it. I mean, and he's got that close mic'd vocal when he's kind of,
Mm,
with the timbre of his voice, as you said, to the
mm,
timbre of his voice, and he's singing like maybe the best I've ever heard Keith sing on this track. And then you have the Sarah Dash kind of female vocal coming in, and she nails it as well. It's perfect. It's not over the top, like whereas Turn the
Yeah.
Girl Loose is over the top. This is perfect. This is right in the pocket. Great soulful duet. Oh my God, just they
Yeah.
nail it. They nail it.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it by saying about like a lot of singers they showboat and
Hmm.
go for big notes, but she just comes in and it's just really sweet and
Yeah.
just she's like the sweet to his sour,
Yes.
and
Perfect.
it meshes perfectly.
Great. And it's like a woman and a man having a conversation. It's great. I love it. Love it.
Yep, yep, spot on.
Yeah.
Then we got You Don't Move Me. You got this really tight snare drum. Gee, the drum sound on this album is perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got the acoustics strumming, and the song develops. It kind of develops as it goes along, and it's a cheeky lyric line, isn't it? You don't move me.
Yeah.
So I was researching about this song, and a lot of folks think this one is definitely directed to Mick Jagger and maybe about She's the Boss.
Yeah.
Um, this sounds like it came out of the Tattoo You sessions. So,
Hmm.
you know, folks, if you like Tattoo You, and even there's echoes of Exile, this album may be for you.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. The You Don't Move Me is what a great lyric, great vocal.
Mm,
And
yep.
there's no doubt that it's aimed at Mick, and basically, to me, it's the ultimate insult.
Yeah.
You just don't do anything for me anymore. Like you're not,
Yep.
you're not inspiring me in the slightest anymore, and that's just oof,
Yep.
ouch,
Yeah.
oof.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So it's like Lennon's version of How Do You Sleep
yeah,
to Paul
yeah,
McCartney, isn't it?
yeah. That's a great analogy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like most friends, they talk on the phone, try to resolve issues, but the artists, they write letters by song.
Yeah. I mean, what is
I
it? Yeah.
can't talk to you on the phone, but I'll write you a song and tell you what I think.
Yeah. What does he say? Now you want to roll the dice? You already crapped out twice. Oof. It's like
Yeah.
I think by that time his second solo album had already come out. So,
Yep.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
pretty tough.
How I Wish. Oh man, this just song moves with abandon, and Richards does make this his own with this off time yet on point playing. I, Nobody plays rhythm like him. Those guitar stabs, the syncopation, where
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
little bit off the beat, but it's so on point. And
Yes.
as you know,
Swing.
working within the
Swings.
song,
Yeah.
it's just grooves.
Yeah. Yeah. And Steve is there
Yeah,
with him. I mean, he and Steve are just locked. I mean, it's like I love it. I love how
Steve
they're so
Jordan. Yeah,
locked,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Folks, can you tell we like this? We're really digging this album.
Who's gonna win this battle? I can't tell.
I know. Gee. Um, Rock a While. It's an interesting song. To me, it had that kind of soul gospel feel and
Yeah.
a lot of nice harmonizing. And you feel like the harmonizing's in the round. You can imagine that there's like a group of the singers and they're in the round and they're trading off vocal lines.
Hmm.
And it's kind of traditional Americana, and I love it. I think it's nice, and it reminds me of a lot of the soulful parts of Exile and that era, that early '70s Stones era, where where they're being bold and exploring Americana and gospel and soul music and R&B, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I
Mm.
like it a lot. What do you think of this song?
Oh, I also enjoy it. I like it quite a bit. I mean, it's kind of it's a groover, right? It's a groove song, and it kind of has one, but he does it right. He does the groove song very well. It's like this is his wheelhouse, right? And I love to your point. I love the intertwining vocals, the sort of stay, yeah, rock a while. They have all these different things going on vocally. It's like this, and it kind of builds and builds as the track goes, and I just think it's brilliantly done.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. So he's exploring. He's
Mhm.
just not playing it safe. There's no safe choices on this, and I just think this project is just so perfectly executed.
Yeah, I
You
just
know,
feel like he's
everything's
going
right.
for stuff and he's hitting it all. Like everything that he's going for, he's hitting it. You know?
Yeah, but I think he's been pushed because I think if the Stones were seriously on tour with that album, this album may not have come out. I think first and foremost, he is a Stones guy and he's very loyal. He's a team player, but I think he got pushed to do this album because Jagger not wanting to tour.
Yeah,
So out of this, we get great art. But
yeah,
if going if things were different, if I think first and foremost, he wasn't. I don't think he believed in the solo album per se. I think he thought that let's just pitch our material into the Stones, but circumstances have resulted in this album.
yeah, absolutely, no question. And I think this album is so good because he was so fired up. He was stirred up, and
Fire in the
and
belly,
maybe in
yeah,
a good
yeah,
way, in a good way. Mick kind of threw the gauntlet down and it got him all fired up. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
spot
so
on.
so whip it
And
up. What do you think of that?
oh, the Keith guitar chords just whip it up. Um, Steve Jordan with the best Charlie Watts drumming. His drumming is so Charlie Watts, just slightly behind the beat. I think this song describes the attitude of the album. He's
Yeah,
just whipping it up.
yeah,
It's got attitude. It's got charisma. It's great.
yeah. Great rocker. Agreed.
Yep,
Yep,
yep, yep.
yeah. And then
And Locked Away. I get a Traveling Wilburys feel about this. You know, where they all get together and they're harmonizing or singing with the double
mhm.
track chorus. It's kind of he's exploring a bit of American folk with the accordion and the violin. It's got a lot of charm. It's got a lot of whimsy. So, what do you think of this song?
Yeah, no, I feel the same. You were saying that things were harking back to Exile on Main Street a little bit. This one kind of reminds me of that, like sort of like their Americana sort of wanderings with Graham
Mm,
Parsons or whatever. It kind of has that feel a little bit, and I think
yeah,
a beautiful track. I just think it's a beautiful. He does these. I mean, unlike Mick, where sometimes it doesn't feel with Mick when he's doing ballads, you're not sure if he really means it. Where it feels like with Keith, it feels like he means it. Like you feel the emotion in the track. I don't know, maybe it's
mm,
just me, but that's the way I feel with this song.
yeah. Do you feel that way with Mick because you know about his personal life and who he is?
Maybe.
Because sometimes it's really difficult when you know something about the person, and it's very hard to disassociate yourself with the lyrics. Like me, I've been on many shows about the Stones, and we've talked about Jagger when he does the country and western, and he does the ballads. And I'm probably in the camp that I think he is sincere and he is putting his emotion. But I have heard a lot of folks say that it's not so convincing. And I'm
Mm.
just wondering, it's because do we associate Mick with a certain persona that we think that he can't do the balladry and the sensitive side because he's uber confident. He's a superstar. He probably for play he rides fast cars and yachts around the Mediterranean. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's sort of
yes. I think that's it.
yeah.
I think that's part of it for sure. Yeah.
Bianca Jagger, he was with Jerry Hall, Studio
Jet setting
54.
superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows?
It's hard, but I like that song. I haven't come up with a dud yet. There's
Yeah,
some
I haven't
dud
either.
tracks.
I have yet to as well. You notice I've been agreeing with everything you're saying. So
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I think we
Yeah.
both just love this record. So
Yep.
there you go.
And the last song, It Means a Lot. This is the best song on the album, in my opinion, because I love it where it has the power chords and it's a trade-off. Kind of goes into a little bit of a jam. And this is like an epic album closer. And no note is wasted. you know, and I just love it where there are moments, you know, how I said there, this album, the production is where you allow the notes to breathe and you can hear spaces between the notes. There's bits where it's just the snare drum and the guitar.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Yes.
just so good.
It breaks down and all of a sudden it's just the two of them.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
yeah.
Boom,
It's
boom, and he's going to dun 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 dun.
yeah, and then it's got that acoustic like in the background. Jing, 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 da, 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 jing, jing.
Yeah,
It's just such a groove. Oh, it's what a groove. What a groove. And you can almost feel
and
like
you,
in the studio they just kept going. Like it's almost like maybe they
yeah,
were like, maybe we should bring this down. No, let's keep going. Like,
and folks, when you hear the hit on the headphones, it's great because the guitar goes in one ear and in the other. It's trading off. This is a real, also a great headphones album.
oh, it's
Really
great.
is.
What a great closer. What a great closer.
Yeah.
You know, it was, what does he say? What is it? She, you know, if she should blush, you know, I just love that you can hear like I think it's Steve Jordan doing it. It means a lot, you know, and
Yeah.
it kind of echoes and
Means a lot. Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
This is the most badass song on the album. It's got the deepest groove. It's like a Grand Canyon groove.
It
I'm
is.
just saying Grand Canyon because that's as deep as it gets. It is so deep.
Yeah, yeah,
I love this album.
yeah. I do too.
And I was thinking when I was listening to it last night again, I think this is one of my albums of the 80s. And I will say this is probably the best solo Stones album, bar none, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. Because Keith never quite replicated this either. After this, you know, he got close. Like I like some of the stuff on Main Offender and stuff, but this album
Mm,
he was just firing on all cylinders and trying all these
mhm.
like all these things we did. He's got the vintage Stones. He's got funk. He's going for 50s, old 50s classic stuff. He nails that. He's doing the Stax R&B thing. He nails that. It's just like he's going for all these things and he's hitting them all. And it's like, wow, it's impressive,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I think we know who won this battle.
Yeah. Look, Mick, I mean, you know, as I said, it's a bit of a no contest, this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Touchdown!
Touchdown.
Touchdown!
No question.
Touchdown.
No question. We don't even have to talk about it. We know already. But I mean, this
Yep.
has some moments. Don't get me wrong. It has some moments, but
Moments. Yep.
this is like a work of art. Like this is like this is almost like a lost stone. If you like the Stones, like if you don't have this album, you have to have it. It's
I
almost,
will even go as okay. I would say this is probably the best. If this was a Stones album, this would be the best Stones album since Tattoo You.
yes. I think I would agree with that for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I'd put it above Steel Wheels. I would put it above Bridges of Babylon, Doo Lounge.
Yeah.
Right up. I would say if you had to include the whole collective of the Rolling Stones solo, and that's probably the best album since Tattoo You.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember people at the time. I mean, the critics did like this record, and I remember
Yes, they did.
when it came out, it was getting really good reviews, and people said there was one guy that said, you know, that the single, what was the single? Take It So Hard. Said Take It So Hard is the best Stone song since, you know, Start Me Up or something. I mean, it was like something like that. Like
Yeah.
you said, it's very similar to what you said. So there you go.
Yeah. There you go.
So there it is, folks. There it is, folks. I don't know that we need to say anything more because we've already been we've really exhausted these records. And I think we had a clear winner. I don't think we have to talk about who we picked because we obviously picked Keith. But that record's a banger. There's no question. It's a banger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Peter, thank you so much for joining me. It's always
a pleasure. Anytime, mate. Anytime. It's always a pleasure to get on your show, mate.
yes. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it as usual, and there'll be more because I always say I'll have Peter back on the channel, and maybe I'll be on his channel at some point. Who knows? But
Yes, you will. Stay tuned, folks.
Teaser
Yeah,
alert.
it'll be coming across.
Yeah. So
it'll be coming across.
absolutely. So thanks again, and if you're with us still, what's your pick? What do you think? Maybe some people say, hey, I love She's the Boss. I think it's great, you know. So who knows? So let us know in the comments below. And I always have to say, if you like what you see, like and subscribe, please. It helps the channel. And also, of course, I'll put links to Rock Daydream Nation, Peter's channel below as well. So check that out, of course. He's got tons of great content on his channel as well. So thanks again for everybody, and we'll see you next time on Curless Mania. See ya.
See you later. Bye.